China's trillion-dollar Belt and Road Initiative was sold as a gift to the world. Global infrastructure, mutual prosperity, shared growth. But peel back the glossy PR and what you find is a darker underbelly. Corruption, debt traps, and geostrategic manipulation. China isn't building bridges out of goodwill. It's laying down anchors of control. And India? It saw through the facade early. So who's really paying for China's grand ambitions? Hello and welcome. You're watching Statecraft with me, Geeta Mohan. China's Belt and Road isn't a single highway. It's a tangled web of influence stretching across continents. With over 140 countries roped in and more than $1.17 trillion committed by 2024, the scale is jaw-dropping. Projects range from Kenyan railways to European ports and from African power grids to digital Silk Roads. Beijing's banks bankroll it all, mostly through state loans that often come with more strings than steel. But scale isn't always strength. While China calls it win-win, reality tells another story. Let's follow the money. Over $634 billion has gone into construction contracts and $419 billion into non-financial investments. These aren't charity projects. They're loans, often at commercial rates, with sovereign guarantees. When countries default, Beijing doesn't write off debt. It renegotiates, sometimes demanding control of key infrastructure. Ask Sri Lanka what happens when you can't repay China. It borrowed heavily from Beijing to build Hambantota port, a white elephant in the middle of nowhere, yet a very important strategic asset when it comes to the Indian Ocean. When Colombo couldn't service its debt, China didn't forgive it. It took the port for 99 years. That's not investment, it's strategic colonization. And it sits a few hundred miles off India's southern coast. Coincidence? Absolutely not.
Chinese relationship with Sri Lanka is also there. I will not deny that there is no relationship with Sri Lanka, because Sri Lanka has also borrowed loan and has also got economic benefits from China and all that. But the relationship with India is like a brother, and the relationship with China is like a friend. So there's two difference, with a brother and a friend. So like that, but I don't think India's influence or India's projects or India's stand in Sri Lanka will change because of China, because China, they have the same policy throughout the world. But India has a neighborhood first policies. So under neighborhood first policies, we saw during the crisis period how India helped and how other countries helped. So when a man is in huge disaster, in a huge bankrupt situation, so that time when you don't help, other time when you help, it's not going to work more. So, but India helped that time, they had no conditions. They, in fact, they went beyond their limitations to help Sri Lanka. So that gives a very big goodwill among the people of Sri Lanka. So I think this award, which was given by our president to Prime Minister Modi, is not only making that proud that it was given to the Indian Prime Minister, but it makes us also feel proud that we have done something justice, and because we have awarded a person who has helped us at the time of need.
China calls Pakistan its iron brother, but under BRI, it's more like a financially dependent client state. China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, that's CPEC, is a $60+ billion venture cutting right through disputed Indian territory in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. India calls it illegal. China shrugs. Meanwhile, Pakistan's debt balloons. Blackouts continue and insurgents target Chinese engineers. The IMF keeps bailing Islamabad out while China keeps tightening its grip. Strategic friendship or financial colonization.
Yesterday, there was a mentioning of the so-called reports that some protests broke up in the Gorges region opposing the excessive fishing rights given to Chinese trawlers, saying that's no good to local people and have negative impact on people's livelihood. What is your comment?
这完全是一条假消息。
this is completely a fake news. Certain media's hyping up of the protests against China in Guadalajara region lacks factual basis. After verification, there was no Chinese trawler that went to the Guadalajara port area for fishing or docking. I want to reiterate that the Guadalajara port, as a leading project of CPEC, has been focusing on the development and people's livelihood. China, in advancing relevant cooperation, always followed the principle of mutual respect and consensus. China firmly rejects certain media's attempts that violates its professional ethics and creation of fake news with the deliberate attempt to smear the CPEC building and China-Pakistan relations.
At first, BRI was about soft power. Today, it's turning into a hard liability. The annual burn rate of BRI investments outpaced even US foreign commitments in its early years. But the return on investment? Disappointing.
Friends, our engagement has been guided by the 10 principles enunciated by Prime Minister Modi, which reaffirm that Africa's goals and agenda are India's priority. Unlike extractive models of engagement, India believes in an inclusive, demand-driven development cooperation by way of building local capacity and creating local opportunities, ensuring that African countries not only benefit from investments, but also develop self-sustaining growth ecosystems. India is committed to the overall development of Africa by keeping our markets open, sharing our experiences with the digital revolution to support Africa's development, improving delivery of public services, spreading education and digital literacy in Africa, strengthening African agriculture, and working with African nations to keep the oceans open and free for the benefit of all nations. Demonstrating our commitment to Africa, we have expanded our diplomatic footprint in recent years with the opening of 17 new diplomatic missions, bringing the total number of Indian missions in the continent to 46. Friends, in the spirit of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the world is a family, India has placed development cooperation and capacity building programs at the core of its partnership.
Chinese firms operate in risky environments, chasing influence over profits. Defaults are rising. The IMF, World Bank, and even Chinese lenders have sounded alarm bells. Xi Jinping may be building monuments abroad while his economy stumbles at home. BRI has sparked protests in Kenya, corruption trials in Malaysia, and unrest in Pakistan. Locals complain of Chinese labor replacing local workers, environmental disasters, and overpriced projects. In Africa, Chinese firms are accused of exploitation. In Latin America, BRI has tangled with criminal networks. And in Europe, Italy called its BRI membership an atrocious mistake. That's not diplomacy, that's damage control. The more China pushes, the more pushback it gets. India didn't just skip the BRI party, it slammed the door. From day one, New Delhi opposed the BRI's flagship project, the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, which cuts through Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. For India, that's not investment, it's territorial violation. India rightly called BRI opaque, exploitative, and neo-colonial. While other neighbors queued up for Chinese money, India chose sovereignty over checkbooks. That decision now looks less like stubborn nationalism and more like strategic foresight. Ports in Gwadar, Hambantota, Chittagong, and Kyaukphyu sound like infrastructure or like strategic bases surrounding India. China claims these are commercial ventures, but military analysts call them dual use. India sees them as links in a noose, each port a potential outpost for Chinese naval expansion. It's not paranoia when the other side is playing Go. This is Beijing's maritime monopoly board, and India's territory is the prize. Bribery scandals in Africa, Chinese firms banned by the World Bank, from rigged contracts to election funding, BRI comes with a side dish of corruption. Some governments have toppled under the weight of these deals. In Malaysia, the 1MDB scandal had BRI fingerprints all over it. In Pakistan, opaque contracts have fueled suspicions of elite capture. China says it's exporting infrastructure. Critics say it's exporting kleptocracy. Beijing denies it, but the evidence piles up. Poor nations get sweet loans with poison pills, strict repayment clauses, limited arbitration rights, and collateral in the form of national assets. When the economy tanks, China shows up with a restructuring deal and a key to the port. It happened in Sri Lanka. It's threatening to happen in Zambia. In Djibouti, China built a naval base right next to the infrastructure it financed. Coincidence? Beyond numbers and ports lie real people. Workers from local communities are sidelined. Chinese labor dominates projects. Reports of forced labor, passport confiscation, wage theft, and poor conditions are well documented. Protests are suppressed. Journalists get threatened. In some countries, Chinese firms operate like shadow governments, accountable to no one but Beijing. Infrastructure isn't worth it when it's built on exploitation and silence. BRI often ignores environmental impact assessments. Dams flood ecosystems. Railways slice through forests. Ports displace villages. China touts green corridors, but on the ground, nature pays the price. Local biodiversity collapses. Water tables dry up. In Nepal, BRI projects have endangered fragile mountain zones. In Kenya, the Mombasa Railway damaged a UNESCO heritage site. Beijing builds fast, but not clean, and certainly not for the locals. China's BRI isn't just about roads and rails, it's about data. The digital Silk Road exports Chinese surveillance tech to partner nations. Cameras, data centers, fiber optic cables, all run by Chinese firms. Countries get connectivity, Beijing gets access. What starts as infrastructure ends in information warfare. Ask African Union officials who discovered their Beijing-built headquarters was secretly sending data back to China nightly. That's not partnership, it's penetration. India's answer to BRI isn't just to say no, it's to build alternatives. From the International North-South Transport Corridor to the India-Middle East-Europe Corridor, that's the IMEC, India is forming new trade linkages. With the US, Japan, France, and Australia, India is shaping a parallel network. It may not have China's wallet, but it has transparency, trust, and tech. And that matters. As nations reevaluate their BRI romance, India is offering a sober, rules-based alternative. China's economic invasion into India's neighborhood has had mixed results. Bangladesh flirted with BRI but is wary. Nepal is balancing between the dragon and the tiger. The Maldives saw a pro-China government fall. India has had to double down, diplomatically, militarily, and financially, to prevent a strategic meltdown in its backyard. BRI isn't just a global challenge, it's a direct regional assault. Inside China, BRI is now a political hot potato. Projects abroad are flailing. Domestic voices are questioning the wisdom of spending billions abroad while unemployment rises at home. Bailouts are ballooning. Critics whisper that Xi Jinping's PR won't admit. BRI was a gamble for greatness and now it's a liability. With global opposition mounting and domestic returns fading, Beijing may soon face the unthinkable, scaling back its most ambitious foreign policy gamble. India's BRI stance is more than symbolism, it's strategy. By refusing to compromise sovereignty for short-term investment, India avoided the traps that have ensnared others. By investing in regional partnerships and multilateral forums, it's slowly building influence the hard way. No flashy ports, but fewer regrets. As the world wakes up to the BRI's hidden costs, India's model of cautious engagement and selective alternative is gaining respect. China's Belt and Road Initiative promised a new era of global connectivity, but for many, it has delivered debt dependency and disillusionment. The monetary cost is staggering, but the political cost is worse. Lost sovereignty, broken alliances, and compromised futures. For China, BRI is turning from a power play into a reputational burden. For India, staying out looks smarter with every passing year. In the end, the world must decide, is infrastructure worth the influence it surrenders? Thank you for watching Statecraft.